Welcome to The Point with Brandon Gibson and the All-American News Network. Today I kind of want to talk about something that's been bothering me. I call it the ignorance of racism. I notice there's a lot of different cultures in America right now. And I want to first off say that I do not condone racism of any degree. And I have developed the Genesis social media platform as a universal network that is taking Facebook head on. That being said, I want people to know what I'm referring to when I say ignorance of racism. A friend of mine named David, and this turned out to be the perfect example, said to me one day, I came down and he's the maintenance guy in the building. He was doing something on the apartment building. And he goes, hey, didn't you create a social network? And I said, yes, I did. Why? He goes, because Facebook put me in Facebook jail. And I said, what happened this time? And enhancing that he had been put in Facebook jail before. And he said, I commented on a post by a Black Lives Matter guy who supports the BLM, stating that he was going to start killing white people. David replied, okay, then I'm going to start killing black people. And what bothers me about this situation is Facebook didn't at all penalize the person who talked about killing white people, but the second anybody did the exact opposite, it became a violation of the terms of service. So they're allowed to kill white people and talk about killing white people, but we're not allowed to talk about killing them. I hate to say it, but on Genesis social media, we don't care what color your skin is. You shouldn't be talking about killing anybody. And that kind of brings me to another point. I was raised partially, I was given up for adoption at 17. And that being said, I was adopted by a black family who were pastors in Kansas City. I was the only white guy at that church for a lot of years, which I thought was awesome that I was being adopted by pastors. But what really bothered me was not so much that as all the black people who didn't like in a black family adopting Whitey, as used to call me. They used to call me Whitey. I dated a black girl for a while, and the reason I will never do it again is not because of the color of somebody's skin. It's because all her brothers and all their brothers didn't like their baby sister dating Whitey. Now, this brings me to another common point. I'm looking at this whole situation from the out-of-box view, and the point of all this is we need to put our differences aside and stop judging people based on the color of our skin. I don't care what color your skin is. I'm friends with plenty of African Americans. I'm friends with plenty of Chinese people, plenty of Hispanics. There's all kinds of people. And I'm going to point out that I don't like people based on their point of attitude, not the color of their skin. If you're going to walk around and you're going to be a gangbanger, you're going to be a homie, as they put it, dealing drugs, committing crimes, burning buildings down, and all the things that these thugs in the Black Lives Matter community and Antifa are doing right now that are being condoned by the Democrats. That is something that should not be tolerated, regardless of what color your skin is. And it's the BLM that are making this about race. Lincoln, a white man, took a bullet for freeing slaves. He didn't believe that black people should be slaves. He believed that everybody was human and that we all should be treated as such, and black people should be treated no different than white people, and black people should have the same opportunities as white people, which they do. And I've talked to several people who come from the ghetto and from places like Kansas City and St. Louis, and all the lines are the same. We didn't have it so good. You don't know what it's like to grow up in the hood. I'm going to point out something. If you want to stay in the hood, you can stay in the hood. I pointed out that how much money you got in your pocket. The guy, he goes, what? And I said, well, how much money? I know you deal dope. How much money did you deal from raised from dealing dope? And he's like, I got several $1,000s, man. I'm doing all right. And I'm like, okay, you know what you could do? You're choosing to stay in the ghetto and deal dope. But you know what you could do with that $5,000 or $6,000 that he raised? One, you could spend $120, get on a bus. And while you're on the bus, taking a road trip across country, getting away from Chicago or New York or wherever it is you're heading from, you can get on a bus and you can just start your life over. And while you're on the bus, on that 18-hour trip, whatever it is, take a long think about your life. Will Smith, came from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, one of the worst ghettos on the planet. And he got an opportunity because he thought he could do better, and he took on as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And then looking back, he realized that he had a good life. He could have stayed in the ghetto. He could have dealt drugs. He could have became another criminal. Could have been running from the cops. Could have been doing all this stupid shit. But you know what he did? He went and created a life for himself. And all you have to do is believe. You have to think to yourself, I'm worth more. I am worth better than what these people think I am. The reason I don't like most black people isn't because of the color of their skin. Do you want to know the reason I don't like most black people? It's because most of them are running around, being hard, shooting people, being violent, hitting their women, dealing drugs, being a thug. But there are plenty of black people who aren't like that. There's 5 or 6 of them in my building. You know what the guy who is? He's a stockbroker. I got a friend of mine named Eve, who's a black guy, come from France. He's got a wife and 3 kids. You know what he is? He's an accountant. He's actually doing all right, and he's a Christian. All you have to think about is what I want to do and why I want to be better than what all these people think I am. If you want to be a thug, go be a thug. But I guarantee you nobody's going to respect you for being a thug outside of your own homies, and it doesn't pay to run from the law. But I'm looking at the bigger picture, and all these Antifa people and all these BLM are former criminals or are criminals who run around treating people like they don't have to abide by the laws. They're beating, they're blowing things up, they're tearing up the city. Los Angeles was a war zone to begin with, but that's besides the point. Anyway, this is kind of the pilot for the Genesis Social Media All American News Network, and the Genesis Social Media is The Point, is what I call this hour. And every Sunday at 12 to 2, I will be having a basic talk show kind of going into the out-of-box view of everything I see going on. And I don't want opinions. Keep opinions to yourself, because like opinions, everybody has a different one, but opinions and truth don't back each other up. Opinion is hearsay. Truth and evidence are the only things that can hold itself up to the truth. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, is what my dad always used to say. So opinions are hearsay. They're biased, and they can't be trusted. Anyway, you all have a great day.